welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain a Chinese movie based on a true event released in 2014 titled Fighter in the Wind. This movie tells the story of a karate competitor who went to Japan after World War II to become a fighter pilot but found a different path. He goes across the country to defeat martial artists and develops his now famous karate style, Kyokushin. How is the story of his struggle to become a karate warrior? Let's find out in Fighter in the Wind. Fighter in the Wind is set at the end of World War II in Japan. At that time, there was an incessant bid to become a pilot. Finally, a young Korean immigrant living in Japan, named Choi By-dal, was interested in joining. He who dreamed of flying a fighter plane for a long time did not waste this opportunity and immediately enrolled. Then, it looks like he has entered the training camp. While at the training camp, By-dal and his friends have been subjected to discrimination, punishment, and unfair treatment. One night, By-dal and his Korean friends were seen being tied up and tortured in the camp. Not long after, General Kato, the commander in charge of the training camp, arrived. He is a very arrogant person. He ordered his men to untie the Koreans who were being punished. When By-dal and his friends are released from punishment, suddenly one of his friends taunts the general. So the general challenged them both to a fight with his bare hands. If they won, then they would be released from the training camp alive despite cursing at him. Unfortunately, By-dal lost during a fight because his martial arts skills were not at the same level as General Kato's martial arts skills, a karate master. By-dal was left alive and escaped from the training camp. After leaving the camp, as a Korean immigrant living in Japan, he lived in shambles. He works odd jobs to survive. When he was selling in the market, he saw Yakuza gangsters who were oppressing the traders in the market by asking for protection money. Seeing the oppression carried out by the Yakuza, he did not remain silent. His anger flared when he saw the injustice before his eyes. He immediately attacked the gangster members alone. While the fight was still going on, the Yakuza leader approached him carrying a katana, pressed it to By-dal's neck, and threatened to kill him. By-dal, who feels cornered by this situation, looks very scared and wets. Then, the Yakuza leader asked him to bow down while licking the drops of urine that had splashed on his shoes. He did it in front of many people who witnessed the incident in the market with shame. Since then, he has been famous throughout the city as a peeper. Not long after, there came a mysterious man with a stump who fought to defeat the Yakuza members. One by one, the gangster members were knocked down by the mysterious man while By-dal was watching, who was hiding in the distance. Seeing his gangster members getting pressed, finally, the Yakuza leader chose to leave the market. The mysterious man is named Bae-soo, a Korean immigrant who also lives in Japan. After the fight in the market, By-dal was taken by Bae-soo to a circus where many Korean immigrants worked and gathered there to survive. There, Bae-soo is a respected person because he accommodates Korean people living in Japan and is a martial arts expert. Hearing this, By-dal begged to be taught martial arts by Bae-soo. However, By-dal's desire to study with Bae-soo is not as easy as he thought because Bae-soo apparently swore never to practice martial arts again. All night in the pouring rain, By-dal pleaded on his knees outside Bae-soo's residence. Until the next day, Bae-soo left his house and gave him a martial arts suit and a book on martial arts philosophy. The book was written by a Japanese swordsman named Miyamoto Musashi entitled The Book of Five Rings. By-dal later adhered to one adage from this book: was power without justice is violence, justice without power is meaningless. By-dal joins other Korean immigrants who live in the circus community. He is also busy working as a rickshaw driver and practicing martial arts with Bae-soo in his spare time. Until one night, Yakuza gangster plans to take revenge for his defeat during the incident in the market that time. They come to a gathering of Korean immigrants who work in a circus and make trouble while looking for Bae-soo. Finally, the Yakuza gangster came face to face with Bae-soo and they were involved in a pretty fierce battle. A disproportionate number of Yakuza gangsters with Korean immigrants overwhelmed Bae-soo. Finally, in a critical fight, the Yakuza leader saw an opportunity to slash his katana to Bae-soo's neck until the poor man breathed his last. Bae-soo then died horribly. Not long after, By-dal, who had just returned from his routine work as a rickshaw driver, looked surprised by the messy circus atmosphere, as if there had been a commotion. He then approached the crowd of Korean immigrants who turned out to be crying over the dead body of Bae-soo. He could only cry over the departure of the teacher. The following day, By-dal walks alone to avenge the death of Bae-soo. Carrying a club, he walked with anger running high towards the Yakuza gangsters' headquarters. As it turned out, other Korean immigrants also followed him. At the Yakuza gangsters' headquarters, the members were already prepared for the possible attack by these Korean immigrants. Finally, the fight broke out and they fought each other. In the pouring rain, they clashed between members of the Yakuza gangster and a group of Korean immigrants. Punches and kicks were fired and the atmosphere was chaotic. Everyone tried to kill each other until finally the crisis reached its peak when a friend of By-dal managed to stab and injure the Yakuza leader by sacrificing himself until he was badly beaten. Finally, the fight began to stop when the police came to intervene. After the brawl with the Yakuza gangsters, Bidal felt helpless because he failed to defend his teacher until he died horribly at the hands of the Yakuza. So desperate, he finally decided to exile himself to a mountain by using the martial arts clothes that his teacher gave him at that time. In seclusion on a mountain, he practices his martial arts skills. Armed with the moves he had learned in the books he was given at that time, he practiced diligently every day. However, his practice was not as easy as he imagined. The extreme weather and training in the wild meant that his body had to adapt harder to suit the circumstances. Days passed and Bidal started to improve his practice by following instructions from books such as breaking rocks with his bare hands and hitting tree trunks really hard. During his exile, he could only eat what was available from nature. He was desperate because the exercises he was undergoing did not produce significant results. He even had the thought to give up and end his life. However, gradually, his mind began to clear again and he began to feel calm. Finally, he seemed able to start his martial arts training diligently, patiently, and more focused. In addition to practicing very intense punches and kicks, Bidal also trains his body parts to be strong to withstand pain. Starting from lifting a very large tree trunk, breaking rocks with his bare hands, or hitting his body with a very heavy weight. Finally, after going through a long time, he managed to do each practice stage that he had to pass based on the manual he read. Even the hard rock is no longer a match for Bidal's body. Feeling that he had perfectly mastered all the martial arts moves from the manual and martial arts that his teacher had taught him, he decided to go down the mountain. He arrived in the city in his tattered karate clothes. The first place he went to was a karate dojo. There, he came and politely asked an opponent to fight with him. Recognizing the face of Bidal, who was involved in a case with the Yakuza, the dojo leader despised him by mocking him as a bedwetting man. Bidal, who heard the ridicule, remained patient and did not get emotional. He kept begging to ask an opponent to spar until his request was fulfilled. All members of the karate dojo come forward to fight Bidal. Unexpectedly, one by one, they fell with just one kick or punch. All of his opponents fell trembling and lay helpless, until finally, Bidal arrived against the arrogant dojo leader earlier. A duel began, and they kicked and hit each other. Scene: when the dojo leader tried to kick Bidal, he didn't feel any pain. However, on the contrary, for every kick that Bidal launched, the dojo leader felt a lot of pain, which was shown on his face, grimacing in pain. Finally, the dojo's head fell into Bidal's hands and fell to the ground. The news of Bidal's arrival in town and defeating the dojo master at a karate training immediately spread in newspapers throughout Japan and reached General Kato, who had defeated Bidal at a training camp. Bidal became viral because every time he went anywhere to challenge the karate college, so many reporters followed him. One by one, he visited all the martial arts schools in Japan, such as karate, judo, ninjutsu, aikido, and kabuto. Of course, Bidal can easily beat them, to the extent that someone decided to take down the nameplate of their martial arts college and close it. The excitement of the Japanese martial arts world due to the appearance of Bidal made the general, who is the chairman of the Japan Karate Association, speak up. General Kato was offended that non-Japanese people studied Japanese martial arts and thought they could defeat all Japanese fighters. He immediately held a press conference to announce that the martial arts performed by Bidal was not respectable Japanese karate martial art because the moves that Bidal used were different from the karate moves in Japan. Bidal became increasingly popular until finally people began to doubt the original Japanese karate. Wherever he went, reporters followed him and looked for news about him. Unfortunately, an unscrupulous person started to do a devious thing where one of his Korean friend was persecuted. At the same time, the general challenged Bidal to duel in public. Not long after, Bidal accepted General Kato's challenge by coming to a location on the outskirts of the city that had been determined. He had to fight some of General Kato's men first until he finally faced the general. When confronted, the general's arrogance can be seen because he feels that the karate skills he has learned since he was 5 years old will exceed Bidal's martial arts skills. Finally, the battle to determine who was the strongest began. It can be seen during the fight that the moves used by the two fighters are different. From here, the forerunner of a new type of karate school initiated by Bidal was born. This new type of karate is known as the Kyokushinkai style of karate. The moves that this new type of karate has are very different from the karate styles that have been around for a long time in Japan. The two fighters began to attack each other, and it was seen how the power of Kyokushinkai karate far exceeded the general's karate ability. Several times, the karate moves that Bidal launched made the general fall to the ground. Until the end, Bidal launched the final blow right in the face of the general. However, he endured the blow by only 1 inch to not injure the general's face. General Kato admitted defeat. General Kato and his men then saluted and acknowledged Bidal's karate abilities at the end of the match. It doesn't stop there. After defeating the general, Bidal still tests his martial arts skills by challenging a wild bull. He was seen dealing with a bull ready to attack him in a field. When the bull ran to attack him, he was able to grab the bull's head and break the horns. This film is a biographical story of the martial arts expert Bai Dal who initiated the birth of the Kyokushinkai Karate School. Since then, he has changed his name to Matsutatsu Oyama and has fought hundreds of martial arts masters worldwide. One thing that made him even more famous was that he could break the horns of a bull with his bare hands. We can learn that being a late starter is not a barrier to success from this film. If someone focuses on achieving the goals, it is not impossible. Persistence and hard work in achieving life goals can be achieved if a person has a strong will. From the story of Choi Bai Dal, we can see that a man who as a teenager did not have good martial arts skills turned out to be a karate master who was feared and very famous in his time. The intense and extreme exercises that he underwent did seem impossible. However, the effort to undergo these exercises is a process that takes quite a long time. So, the key is to be persistent and patient because success does not come in a short time. This long process and effort will pay off when we can achieve success for our efforts.